News coming out of the Tonopah area. This is about 200 miles northwest of Las Vegas along US 95. And then a major 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck just right around 4 o'clock this morning, so about an hour and a half ago. No reports of any injuries, and we're still waiting to hear if any of the brick buildings in Tonopah or nearby Hawthorne actually suffered any damage, and hopefully we'll get reports out of those communities soon.
Significant aftershocks too, a couple 5.4 in that area.
Mail-in voting has been around in Nevada for years, but because of the coronavirus pandemic, the June 9th primary will be the first time Nevada has gone with an all mail-in ballot. And that's why Clark County elections officials will be on Twitter and Facebook Live tonight to answer questions so you can make sure your vote counts.
There's a lot of new things coming on with this election.
Clark County Registrar of Voters Joe Gloria says June 9th will not be a typical primary day.
We did in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic to try to create a secure environment and not force voters to get out in an area where we might promote the spread of the virus.
So voters across the valley are now receiving ballots like this in the mail. Just fill it out, send it back in the postage paid envelope with a postmark on or before Election Day, June 9th. But you'll still need to register.
If you haven't already registered, you can still do so online up until May 21st. And if you do it by the 21st, you will still receive a mail ballot in the mail. If you do it after that and beginning May 22nd, if you register online, which requires a Nevada ID, you will not be able to receive a mail ballot. You'll need to come and do that in person.
But active voters aren't the only ones receiving mail-in ballots.
I think what the most troubling thing that we are seeing is that inactive voters are getting mailed ballots.
That's why Keith Skipper with the local Trump campaign worries about potential voter fraud when he sees pictures being posted on his website of ballots sent to inactive voters stacking up at apartment complexes where they once lived.
We're finding them in people's mailboxes. We're finding that people that are deceased are being mailed ballots to their former residents.
And that's why it's critical to sign your ballot.
Each voter is required to sign that return envelope, which is also important information. Be sure to sign that envelope because that is how we'll verify your identity.
Well, Jim, this is news self-employed individuals and gig workers have been asking about for weeks since they are not eligible for standard unemployment. They were told to wait to file once a new system was set up, and starting this Saturday, they can file on that new site. But Dieter is expecting a large volume of applicants, so they're encouraging people to read the guidelines online before they file. The Alorica Call Center will now solely accept calls related to pandemic unemployment assistance questions. PUA claims will be backdated to date of eligibility. That eligibility starts January 27th. Dieter expects to make payments on claims sometime near May 23rd.
Individuals may be eligible for PUA if they are self-employed, 1099 contract workers, and/or gig workers. Or if they're employees whose wages are not reported for unemployment insurance, if they're not earned enough wages or worked enough hours for standard unemployment benefits as a result of COVID-19, or if they were unemployed or going to start work but could not because of the COVID-19 outbreak.
And that is just some of the applicants able to apply in that PUA system. The call center will be available this Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 8. That number, 1-800-603-9681. Again, the website and call center are not set up yet. They will open this Saturday, May 16th. In studio, I'm Tiffany Lane. Back to you.
All right, people, this was just in. We now know the debut date for Allegiant Stadium in our Las Vegas Raiders. Today, the NFL released the preseason dates, and the Raiders will open Allegiant Stadium August 27th versus the Arizona Cardinals. The Silver and Black have 2 home preseason games, and the second is September 3rd versus the LA Rams. And things are coming along very nicely at the stadium as they started laying down some real grass out there. Now, remember, the grass will be rolled into play and outside for sunshine. Now, similar to the University of Phoenix Stadium down there in Phoenix, pretty dang cool. Now, folks, it's abundantly clear the NFL wants to show off the Raiders' Death Star Stadium as the Silver and Black have 4 nationally televised games, 2 of them to be seen right here on Channel 3, Sunday Night Football. But all 4 games will be right here in Las Vegas over at Allegiant Stadium. Now, unfortunately, we still have no idea of what fans or even media availability will be like for those games. Amber Dixon talked with broadcast legend Al Michaels about that and the possibility of piping in fan noise.
It is a real concern that there may not be any fans or few fans. Have you visualized how that'll impact the broadcast? How do you think it'll impact the players as well?
Well, in terms of the broadcast, we're figuring out what we want to do. I mean, there's some discussion amongst our production people. We're just getting underway with, what do you want to make it sound like? Do you want to pipe in noise, or do you want to have fans gathered all over and try to do a composite audio mix? So we're trying to figure this out. You will hear sound because you don't want to hear, you don't want to see a football game and there's nothing, there's no response to anything. I hope it doesn't amount to that. I hope you can put some bodies in some seats. In terms of the players, I mean, they're conditioned to play, and I think it won't affect them that much, because for the most part, especially if you're the visiting team, you're trying to drown out the crowd. Is what you're trying to do. You're trying to make believe they don't exist. And now you won't have to make believe if they don't exist. And for the home team, they're going to go about their business, go about their appointed rounds like the postmen. And I don't think you'll see much of a difference. They'll miss the fans, but I think when it comes to playing the game and doing what they have to do, they'll have tunnel vision.
All right, well, Dana White and the UFC are like Puff Daddy and Bad Boy Records. He can't stop, won't stop. Because the UFC has another fight card still in Duval County, of course, that's Jacksonville, Florida, and it is headlined by two guys who are stand-up fighters and will be looking to knock heads off shoulders. Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris. Meanwhile, last night's UFC Fight Night was action-packed with no crowd noise, just the lovely sounds of leather hitting skin. Hard. In the main event, Glover Teixeira gets the TKO of Anthony Smith. Smith, whose nickname is Lionheart, was the favorite going in, but he left the octagon with a broken nose, 2 missing teeth, and was the second straight main event fighter who lost to have his orbital bone broken. Teixeira, getting it done for all the old heads out there. He's 40 years old, 18 years as a pro, and has won 4 straight fights. And lastly, NASCAR following Dana White and the UFC's lead, and is set to make its triumphant return Sunday, May 17th at Darlington Raceway in South Carolina. Now, this is the first of 7 races over an 11-day span that will be at 2 different tracks, Darlington and, of course, Charlotte. Las Vegan Kyle Busch is anxious to get back at it and shake off the rust.
Some of the racetrack is only 1 car width wide for us to be able to race on the surface, and now you're trying to put all of us out there with no practice and haven't been in a car for 2 or 3 months, and so it's going to be pretty crazy. But overall, Darlington's one of the toughest racetracks on the circuit. It's very enjoyable, though. If you run good there, it can be very rewarding. But if you're just that least little bit off, it's very, very aggravating as well, too. And